Hey, everybody. Welcome in. I'm going to give it a minute or so for folks to trickle in. So while we wait, drop in the chat where you're joining in from. If you've been to any of my previous sessions, you know that I typically call in from New York City, but I'm actually in Malaga, Spain right now because we have our Kilo Focus Week here next week. So the whole team's getting together, going to work on stuff and be in person together. So I'm super excited for that. I am on less than 2 hours of sleep right now because I had a red eye over here last night, but I'm still amped to be here for the Kilo Show live. So we're just going to give it a minute and then we'll get started in just a sec. Seeing hi from Jordan, Budapest, cold from Annapolis, Maryland. You'll be here soon though, Brendan. It's almost time. Seeing hi from France. It's good to see you too again, Gene. Oh, so where in Spain are you, Ernesto? Anywhere close to Malaga? Girona. Where's that? Is that like in the whereabouts in the country? Seeing Zeb, I'm typing. That's he's a webinar regular as well. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody. I'm Brian. I'm a developer relations engineer here at Kilo Code. And today we're back with the Kilo Show Live, which is our variety hour format where we catch up on what's been happening in the world of AI coding, talk about what's new at Kilo, and then we'll bring in some guests from the team to share about what they've been working on. So quick rundown of what we're talking about today. The first is, want to make sure I'm updating the slides as we go. This is also a challenge for me because I'm traveling. I don't have my usual multi-monitor setup. So the delay between slides might take me a minute. But anyway, we're going to go over some news. You know, there's been a lot happening in the AI coding space and in Kilo over the past week or so. We've got some big shifts, some interesting trends, and of course, how it all ties back to what we're building here. And then we've got three guests joining me today. Alex from the Kilo team, Brendan, and possibly Ari too, all here to share some updates and thoughts from their corners of Kilo. And we've been shipping a lot recently, as per usual, and I want to give you all the inside scoop directly from the people building it and helping move these features forward. So after that, we're going to do a quick demo, nothing crazy, but I want to show off a really cool new feature in action because I feel like that's, always the best way to actually understand what these features do. And then we'll wrap up with some Q&A. So stick around, drop your questions in the chat as we go, and we'll make sure to get to as many as we can. And of course, the slide that's up right now, as promised, we're going to give out $50 of Kilo credits to 5 people who attend, plus a very cool Kilo t-shirt. So all you have to do to enter into consideration for those credits in that t-shirt is ask at least one question throughout the session. So you can do that in the chat or preferably in the questions tab if you look next to the chat and Livestorm there. And if you ask a question, you'll be considered for that random giveaway. And just a heads up to anyone who's been to the webinars over the past few days, this is actually our 4th webinar in a row, which I think is a record. And we did the same giveaway the last 4 days. If you haven't heard about winning yet, don't worry. So we're going to give all the winners the credits and the t-shirts at the same time after this webinar. So if you're bummed out that you didn't win, there's still a chance that you can win from those previous webinars. So, all right, sound good? Let's get into it. Now I'm jumping over to switch slides again. I should have switched to that one already. But okay, so let's start with, probably the biggest news of this past week and the subject of 2 webinars that I already gave. I just want to do a quick rundown in case anyone missed it. It's something that is very, significant to the world of Kilo coders, which is that Grok Code Fast is no longer free as of today. So today is the last day of it being free, rather. And look, if you've been using Kilo for a while, or even not for a while, you might remember when we first got access to what was then called Sonic, this stealth model from XAI that was awesome, like 100, 200 tokens per second, massive context window, completely free and no caps. It kind of felt too good to be true, right? Well, it turns out it sort of was. Well, at least it was too good to be true forever. The free period is over. Now we're looking at some real pricing, which is 20 cents per million input tokens and $1.50 per million output tokens, which honestly is still very inexpensive, but it's not unlimited and free like we're used to. And I think this is like a good moment for us to step back and talk about what this actually means in this landscape and within Kilo. And for one, we think it's a really exciting opportunity to try out models from other labs that are doing the same thing. Currently have four free models in Kilo. There's Giga Potato, which is a Kilo exclusive stealth model that a lot of people are telling us they're having good experiences with. There's DevStrawl 2 and DevStrawl Small from Mistral. And then there's Mimo V2 Flash. So there's four free models that are all great and good at their own things that you have the opportunity to try now if you were relying on Grok Code Fast being free. And then, moving on from being a heavy Grok user, there's kind of three options that you can take, or three paths you can take from there. One is that you can chase the next free thing, like I said, and there will maybe always be another model, trying to gain that market share by offering usage for free. And a lot of times they end up being really great. And the reason that people stick with them even when they go paid is because they only tried them once when they were free. Option two is, you could pick a subscription somewhere and hope they don't change the terms. But, history suggests that that's a risky bet. And then option three, and this is obviously where we think Kilo fits in, is you embrace the pay per token usage with full transparency. So, at Kilo, there's no markups, there's no hidden credits or artificial caps. You use tokens, you pay for tokens, and you know exactly what you're spending. And that means you get to choose the model that's best for the job and switch between models as you do different sorts of tasks, knowing that they all have their different strengths, their different costs, and their different areas where they can excel in your workflow. And that's one really important thing to harp on, is that with Kilo, you're never locked into one model. If Grok Code Fast pricing doesn't work for you anymore, you can switch to another free model. You can switch to GLM 4.7, which is new, DevStrawl, or upgrade to maybe using a frontier model like Claude, Opus 4.5, or Sonnet, or any of the other 500 plus models we support. So, that's kind of the whole point of model freedom. You pick the right model for the task and at the right price point, and you're in control. That being said, we did do a survey of about 1,300 developers, and a little over 70% of them said that they were going to continue using Grok once it goes paid. So I'm curious what you all think of that. If you've used Grok, are you going to continue using it now that it's paid? All right. So let's shift gears and talk about what's been happening at Kilo specifically. And this is a big one. We launched Kilo for Slack, and Brendan and I are going to do a quick little demo of this later, but I just wanted to bring it up now while we're talking about all the new product features. So the idea here is pretty simple, right? Engineering teams don't typically make decisions in IDE sidebars, right? They make them in Slack. That's where the context lives. That's where the discussions happens. And that's where decisions often get made. So we thought, okay, what if you didn't have to leave Slack to actually execute on these decisions? What if you could just mention Kilo in a thread and say, based on this conversation, can you implement a fix for this bug? And it just does it. Reads the thread, understands the context, spins up a cloud agent, and then pushes a PR. So that's really what's kind of really exciting about, at least from my perspective, about our Slack integration versus some of the other ones out there, is that it's multi-repository by default, and it's made to be a real coding agent, right? It's not just a general purpose AI bot that has some integrations into some parts of your workflow and is kind of trying to do all these different things with, just general AI. It's made to do real development from where your team already works. You don't have to configure which repo you're talking about and infers that from the conversation. It supports continuous context-aware conversations, so you can build on existing threads and PRs over time. And we partnered with Minimax for the launch. So their M2.1 model, which is new and a lot of people are having great experiences with, is the default for Kilo for Slack, and it's been working really well. We've been using it internally at Kilo for a lot of our own development work. I know it's changed, how a lot of us work daily, definitely how I work. and it's something that we're really excited about. So we'll do a quick little demo of that after. And the next big thing is we launched, and I got to jump over to switch the slide, so give me a second, is we launched Kilo Pass, which is our first kind of subscription offering. And I know I just spent 5 minutes talking about how subscriptions can be broken, but hear me out, because Kilo Pass is fundamentally different. It's not, we're not talking about use of subscriptions. The core principle is AI usage is always at model provider price, right? There's no markups on provider rates. Your subscription dollars don't expire. They just become a balance in your account. And we have this thing called boost credits with Kilo Pass, which reward momentum. So basically, the longer you stay subscribed, the more bonus credits you unlock. So it's not like a traditional subscription where you pay $20 and hope you use enough to justify it. It's more like you're paying for credits that you're going to use, and then you're rewarded for being a power user. You're always paying the market rate for your tokens, and this subscription just gives you an additional top up the longer you continue coding with Kilo. And I'm just going to show you how to access that real quick. I just want to make sure I share the right screen. And jumping over here. All right, so this is the Kilo dashboard, app.kilo.ai. And you can see here the Kilo Pass options. So for example, if you were to buy the starter pass, you can use this little calculator to determine how many boost credits you'd get over time. So say if you have a 12-month streak, that's the 2 hours of sleep talking there, you would end up getting $67 of boost credits. And all you're doing is essentially buying the credits that you might already buy, but you're getting rewarded for continually using Kilo and doing development work. So I think it's a really fun way to reward our users for using Kilo, and to make it, the credit transparency more valuable for you. So just want to shout that out real quick, and then we'll jump back over to the slides. And then we have a bunch of other, various product updates. So beyond those 2 launches, we've also shipped a ton of improvements across the platform. In the IDE extension, Agent Manager now supports images, so you can paste them directly into prompts. Model selection is available in Agent Manager. So I'm going to stop sharing and share VS Code real quick just to walk you through that. I see 5 questions in the chat right now, looks like. Keep them coming, because that's how y'all can earn those credits and those t-shirts. All right, sharing VS Code. Okay, so this is Kilo this is the Kilo extension in VS Code. Just want to make sure I'm sharing that right. Yep. And if you click this button here on the top next to create a new session, there's this button that's the Agent Manager. And when you open that, you can see that it opens second agent chat. So you can actually do parallel agents in the IDE. So you can have this agent running one task and this one running another without conflict. You can also choose the mode on each separately, and you can choose the model on each separately. And you can import images to the parallel agent as well. The main agent always supported that. Now you can do parallel. And in the middle here, this shows you all of your recent sessions. You can click here to add a public snapshot. And then if we go back up and paste that in the browser, which might be hard for me to share again. So if we paste that in the browser, we can see that we have this shareable screenshot where we can even preview the session. We can open it in VS Code or the CLI and continue it in a different interface. So that's kind of what's new with Agent Manager. And then in the CLI, this is kind of a small, but for me, it's been very, very useful feature, which is Shift Tab to change mode in the CLI. So I'm just going to share the CLI now. And I'm just looking through the chat real quick to make sure I'm not missing any important questions. Is the Boost as advantageous with a monthly subscription as it is an annual subscription? So that's one of the questions in the chat. So yeah, the boosts change based on, you know, the amount and the length you're buying, just like most subscription credits or subscription, you know, rewards programs. So you can just check it out yourself at app.kilo.ai, and you can actually use the little calculator I just showed you to calculate exactly how many boost credits you'd be getting with the different plans. And Alex just answered that in the chat. He said it's just as advantageous. You just lock in a higher rate for annual. Annual is 50%. Monthly ranges from 5 to 40%. So yeah, I think that's kind of answers your question there. All right. So CLI. Okay, so this is the terminal, and if we just open CLI by hitting Kilo, there it is, very pretty. So we can see here that we're in orchestrator mode. And like I was saying before, it's or in previous webinars this week, I talked about a lot about how, you know, switching modes and making sure you're in the right mode for the right task. It's not only efficient from a development perspective, but it's also can be efficient, you know, from a token expenditure perspective. And now there's a quick and easy way to do that. So before you'd use a slash command, you'd type mode, and then you pick from the menu here. But now you can just do Shift tab through the modes and pick a different one here. And then also the CLI now supports images, so you can drag and paste an image. You can use the attach command from outside the terminal to attach a file with the file path. So just some, you know, small improvements to the CLI that I think, you know, really actually end up reducing a lot more friction than it might seem. And then an app builder, another one favorite feature of mine, in which I think I might be the #1 global user because I use it all the time. We just shipped database support. So that means you can have apps with real backends. It will infer when to use a database, you know, intelligently. So you don't need to necessarily explicitly say it. If you're requesting to build an app that requires a database, for example, let's say you want to build a blog management platform. So you need a backend for the admin, you know, post management. It'll do that automatically. And then when you deploy it, it'll be there. And when you export the code, you can migrate that database. So that's, you know, really cool feature that I'm excited about, because I think it opens the door into all of the different, you know, more possibilities that you can build with App Builder. There's also, and I'm going to go ahead and share this just so you can see what that looks like. That's clever, Joseph. Joseph asked, if I don't ask a question, am I ineligible? That's a good question. That feels a little bit like cheating, but I'm going to let it slide because I admire the creativity. All right, so if we go over to App Builder here, now we have attach. You can attach files and images. We have the model selector here that was always there. It shows you which models actually allow you to paste images with this little image icon. You can see your project history. And then when you're actually in the App Builder project and iterating on that, you can also switch the models there. So that's something that a lot of people requested. Originally, you'd pick a model and you'd be, you know, stuck with that model essentially through the whole App Builder workflow. Now you can switch to different models just like you can in the IDE or CLI in between different tasks. So that's really exciting. Joseph said, sometimes that cracked me up. It got me too. It was good. That's very clever. All right, so that's a lot. That's enough yapping for me. That's a lot of updates. I just want to bring in some folks who can actually, you know, speak to these things and some more thoughts around Kilo in more detail. So we've got Alex and Brendan and possibly Ari here today. So at first, I want to bring on Alex, who I think this is your first appearance on the Kilo show. Is that right?
It's pretty exciting to be here. I've never been on a talk show before, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, it is exciting, right? Chat, get excited. No, we're excited to have you here. I think, you know, maybe you could tell people a little bit about like what you do at Kilo so that we have a little more context about what we'll chat about today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I lead our sales and customer experience groups here at Kilo. And so I spend just a lot of time talking with users and customers of ours about what they want from Kilo. And my background is actually pretty technical. I was a data scientist and wrote a book on DevOps. And so I love talking to developers about the cool stuff they're doing with Kilo and all kinds of agentic tools. So yeah, that's a little about me.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I want to talk a little bit about kind of like you said, leadership in this AI world. And when you talk to engineering or product leaders about AI and velocity, where are they most confident, or what are they most confident that has changed? Like, and where do they immediately hedge?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting moment for being like a developer in general, right? Because I think if you write code for a living or a hobby or fun, right? Like it's really clear that these tools are awesome, right? They like help people just do things that you couldn't do before, right? Like
Right.
I don't know how to write React, and now I've written a bunch of React because
Right.
like it
And
just works with like syntax is sort of over. I feel like is kind of the thing here, right?
yeah,
As long as you can figure out the logic, right? The agents have gotten so good at working out the syntax, and that's
yeah,
amazing. The issue is, I think, like when you take that into a work context, a lot of people are still trying. Like, it's more possible than ever to be like a solopreneur. I don't know if that's like the way we're pronouncing it, but like to
yeah.
be a solo entrepreneur is like possible in a way it wasn't before, which is super cool.
It's true.
It's way more possible to like build something really awesome by yourself and a fleet of AI agents.
Yeah.
The thing where I think people are still struggling is like if you're part of a development team, if you lead a development team, and that's like I spend a lot of time speaking to people who lead development teams, like they're still trying to figure out like, is this actually working for
Right.
my team, right? And when we talk to them, they're like, I have this vibe that people are being way more productive, but I'm finding it really hard to measure. And so for them, right, there are some companies that are like, we're just going to invest in this because we believe it's the future. We see
Right.
it. And then there are some companies that are like, well, we need to see the ROI, right? We need to see
Yeah.
that there's a return on our investment. And those are the ones where like we talked to a lot of engineering managers who are like, how do I demonstrate that this actually is helping my team work faster? And it's not a solved problem. Like I don't think we know how to demonstrate the value of AI,
Yeah.
particularly when you're working in a team.
Yeah, for sure. And I am curious if you have talked to any leaders in this space, what are some of the metrics that they're trying to use to measure AI impact? And I think you're right that it is tricky. No one's really figured it out quite yet, but I'm curious if there's any kind of leads on it from what you've heard.
I can tell you things that are not working.
Yeah.
That's maybe easier than things that are, I mean, I think the ultimate measure that you have to be looking at is like issue to delivery time, right? Just like how long does it take to implement a new thing
Right.
in your software? I think people are trying to do other metrics like commit frequency. I mean, obviously we all know like code volume is a terrible metric because it's easy to write more code.
Right. Yeah.
But like I know some people are trying to look at story points if you're like an agile person, but like the whole point is that agile, like story points are meant to be a measure of work, not of output. And so
Right.
if you're doing less work to get more output, actually like story points shouldn't change.
Yeah.
And so, I think the metrics that are working are some metric of like, how quickly are we delivering new features? Those are really, really hard to develop in a rigorous way because like, how do you measure how hard a feature is to develop before you develop it and then measure how fast you're doing it now relative to before? And I think like, I don't think this is a problem that's new to AI. Actually, I think like measuring the productivity of a software engineer is a totally unsolved problem.
Right.
And what's going on with AI is just bringing that to the front that like, wow, it's really hard to actually measure the achievement and then line that up against what you're spending on AI. And so I think the people that we're seeing being most successful are the ones that are okay being like, yeah, this is real. We don't quite know how to measure it, but like we can tell that this is very real.
Yeah,
so
sure. And then kind of switching over to some more bottlenecks that are kind of emerging as AI development speeds up. So like there's all these tools that make you feel faster in some ways, but in a lot of ways it's introducing new friction points. So as AI speeds up this development, what are some of the bottlenecks that leaders are highlighting, and which ones caught them by surprise?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one is just that it makes it, you can write a PR really fast, right? Like it makes it way faster to write a PR that does something valuable. It has not necessarily started to make evaluating those PRs faster. It's actually really interesting. So I come from the data science world. If any of you know who Wes McKinney is, he's the guy who developed the pandas library for data analysis. And he just wrote a blog post the other day being like, Python is over and we all need to be going to statically typed languages because it's just so much easier to evaluate correctness in a statically typed language because it will only compile it. Like what you need to be optimizing for is the agent's ability to like check whether what it's done is correct. And a statically typed language really helps the agent relative to something like Python, which is amazing for a human developer ergonomics, but like checking correctness is actually harder because it's dynamically typed and because you don't know if anything's going right until you run it. Which I just like that blog post blew my mind when I read that like the guy who wrote the library for data, I mean, Polars is kind of rising there, but like the library for data analysis in Python is like, Python's over. Like it's cooked, baby.
That's sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's just kind of like representative of this whole period of like development acceleration. Like nothing is what anyone thought at this point. And it's like super exciting, but also hard to navigate in some ways.
Yeah. And so like it's a really interesting moment, particularly as a developer who's thinking about what languages to learn, what to invest in. Because I still think there's a ton of value as a developer, right? Again, like, yes, I can vibe code React, but like when we're putting something into Kilo code, I am not merging that myself if I've just vibe coded it in React, right? We want people who really know React. And so I think there is still a ton of value as an engineer to really knowing languages. But I suspect that we're moving towards like I think we're going to be moving a lot towards fast performance, statically typed, fast compile cycles. So I think that's Rust. I think we all should just do Rust all the time now. Like as far as I know, that's the conclusion here. It's all Rust all day. That's all we're doing. So yeah, I think it's a really cool moment to be looking at all of this because everything's just changing so quickly. I think the other thing, and this is obviously like one of the things we're working on is like, can you get agents to do at least initial reviews of things and verify correctness in some way, right? So like as I think we've talked about probably on the show before, right? We have a code review agent that we are working on. Everybody has a code review agent. I think ours is the best, but like, whatever. And so like, getting agents to do an initial review, check for sort of general correctness and style and testing and those sorts of things, right, is really important. But I don't think it's a totally solved problem. And I think, there will be changes over time to language choices, to architecture that make it easier to sort of inspect the correctness of what people are doing, because that's all of a sudden the hard part, is verifying that this mountain of AI generated PRs is like worth merging and not scary. Which I mean, it's an interesting problem to have compared to we can't write code fast enough. But it's still a problem, especially if you're in a work setting where like, you can't just sort of fling vibe at the wall.
Yeah, for sure. And I think maybe we'll just do one more question so that we can fit in the other guests. And thanks so much for those answers. But, I think as a last one, across all of the leaders that you speak to, what approaches to AI adoption sound compelling in theory, but might not be so effective in reality?
The one that we see a lot of is the peanut butter theory of AI adoption, as our CEO Scott likes to say, which is just like you just sort of like smear AI all over the things you're already doing, right? You're just kind of like do the same things but with more AI.
Right.
It's not effective, right? And I think this is something we really embraced at Kilo in terms of the way we assign work to developers, right? Brian knows this, right? Like he's spending all of his time working really close when he's not on the Kilo show, number one job. But like he spends the rest of his time working really closely with individual developers who have like very deep vertical ownership of a part of Kilo top to bottom, including like working with Brian to market it, right? Like, which is a really different way of working than a lot of organizations. And so I think the approach of just like, let's work the same way with more AI, you can achieve modest, right? Like AI is still good. You can achieve modest gains, but the organizations that are achieving like sort of shocking speed gains are the ones who are not just saying, hey, let's add AI to our existing development processes, but are rethinking how do we develop software? How do we assign work? How do we make teams? What does it mean to be on a team? Yeah. And those are obviously, questions that are really at the sort of like leadership level, but like, I think if you're looking for a job, like those are some things that you might want to ask about. How are they thinking about adopting AI? Because like, if they're doing it in the peanut buttery way, you're probably not going to have the experience you want. And also like, who knows how well that company is going to do in a world where everyone else is figuring out this real like AI acceleration kind of thing.
Totally. Well, thanks so much for those insights, Alex. I really appreciate your time, and I hope to have you on again soon.
Thanks for having me on, and I cannot wait to join you in Malaga, Brian, in another, I got like, I think 48 hours I'll be there. I'm leaving in like 24. So
I'll enjoy some tapas for you.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Send me some pictures.
All right. Thanks, Alex. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
All right. So that was awesome. Thanks, Alex. I think we're ready for our next guest, who's basically just as much of a Kilo show host as I am at this point, which is Brendan from the Kilo team. So Brendan, if you want to hop on stage, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I can't believe you're up and hosting the show after the red eye.
I know. I got some sleep here and there. Maybe I can't remember, but we're gonna. I'm energized by the Spanish, vibes and
yeah. I was gonna say this is inside baseball for everyone, but there's a couple other folks there too, and they were asking about food. So I told them you were on the show, and that you would let them after the show if you wanted to sleep or you wanted to eat. So just check out the Slack and get off.
Looking out for you. Yeah, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about something super cool that I'm a huge fan of that I know you've been working on. So I'll just hand it over to you.
Sure. Yeah. Wait, which one do you want me to talk about first? Sorry.
Talk about Path.
Talk about Path first. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, cool. I was like, wait, we're also going to do Slack, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me, and I actually just shared it in the questions as an answer to somebody's question about, and I think it, like, this question was perfect. It's like, I almost think Anthony might have been a plant. This is a perfect question. Anthony asked, I know there's like skills for AI, which are cool and all, but like, what about patterns? What about like the ways you actually think about how to do design patterns, or like patterns of actually using AI to do professional coding? And so that thing that is kind of what I'm trying to make here.
Yeah.
Which I'm calling Agentic Engineering for Humans. It's path.kilo.ai. And the idea is like all of these patterns and trends are great and all, but if you're not chronically online, like how do you keep up with it? Like, how do I apply these patterns to my real life? Someone was asking about spec-driven development as well. Like, here's spec-driven development. What is that, right? And we have kind of like some upfront information about it to just give you like what is it? And then we have this like full guide if you want to really dive deep into it. But we also have, and my shortcuts aren't working, we also have other resources, right? I think most importantly, it's like, what are the like resources to go out and try this, right? Like, here's the actual spec kit, and here's a great demo of it, or a video of it, or a great blog about it. So this is I'm hoping to make this a community-driven thing. It's all open sourced. in the Kilo Code org. You can go and make pull requests or open issues for things you see that are missing. And I'm hoping to kind of, again, make this like an evergreen place to say, hey, how do I like actually put this into practice in my real life? And then we also have like this concept of engineers versus team leads versus executives, right? And so how do we think about it at every level, right? Alex was just talking a lot about that. Like what are the things that team leads should think about when it comes to measuring impact, right? Like lines of code generated is a bad thing to measure. And so what are like leading indicators and lagging indicators that would actually help you understand like if AI is helping your team, right? And so this is our way of trying to answer that. And then again, my goal is not to like write completely the book on everything, but to then also link to like a lot of deep dives, right? Like this links to a Stanford study and all kinds of other things. So yeah, that's path.kilocode.ai. I would love if everybody could contribute to it. And yeah, like take a look and tell me what I got wrong or like where I'm missing stuff. I really just wanted to lay the foundation here and then let folks kind of help me build this out. Yeah, so that's path.kilo.ai.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about that. I love like the open source angle. I think it's really conducive to obviously what we're building at Kilo, but with everything that's like changing as fast as it is, I almost feel like it could be impossible for one maintainer to keep the
that too.
That's true. Open source more valuable at the end of the day. So
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Let's switch gears to showing off Slackbot. So that's the demo we're going to do today. Brendan and I have this little demo Slack workspace. We're just going to walk you through, kind of what it looks like for your team to be iterating on Slack and then push some code changes through the Kilo bot. And then maybe we'll do that quick and then go over to the Q&A because I know we're pushing time here. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, so we have this Slack org here, and you can see I have the Kilo Slack bot installed. So all you have to do that is go to your workspace, your Kilo dashboard rather. Run low on battery here, so but yeah, maybe we should do a really quick demo. But anyway, you go to your Kilo dashboard, you click Configure Slack in the Integrations tab. It's a couple clicks, and then you can add Slackbot here. You can DM it. So this is like my DM with Slackbot. We only have one repo connected to this workspace, which is Kilo Man, everyone's favorite demo game. It's just like a 2D like Super Mario style game that I made for the first ever webinar I hosted. You can ask it questions about the repo, and then you can even go to shared channels. And maybe let's say Brendan's typing a message here. I think if we were working, for example, in Kilo, people will bring up code points or debugging. Brendan just tagged me and said, "Can we update Kilo Man to have a beach vibe for our trip to Malaga this week?" And then I could even, we could even have a conversation. And whenever I ping Kilo, it'll collect all that context. So I can say, like, sure, should it be a new level or a total makeover of the whole game? So it should the beach scene. We'll just go back and forth. So this, we're kind of just trying to simulate. So it'll say a total makeover, beach background, sun, Kilo Man on the surfboard. And then all I got to do is tag Kilo Man here and say, implement these style changes. You don't even have to specify the repo because it will infer contextually. So we can say implement these. Is style the right word? Implement the
style.
Design,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we'll send that off, and then KiloBot will tell us that it's working on it with this hourglass emoji here. And I was experimenting, so I switched to Opus 4.5 as the model behind this. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but since we're pushing time, let's do the chat. Let's do the Q&A while that loads, and then we'll jump back over to Slack at the end to show you what it came up with.
Yeah, so I answered some of the questions live, and or some of the questions in the questions channel, but this one I haven't yet. It says, "Is there a Spotify podcast? I think Kilo Code needs to host a podcast." It's a pretty good idea, Brian. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty enticing. We could make. I mean, we were talking about kind of streaming the Kilo show to a podcast, but I don't see why we couldn't do both.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, that'd be awesome. We could get like guests. I mean, I'm open to it. We'll
just an audio only version of the Kilo show, even, right?
Yeah. I mean, Lord knows me and you have a lot to yap about. Or we can fill up an hour a week or whatever.
It's true. Great. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. And then this is a great question, which I think the answer is no to, but I like it. I like the idea, which is there a way to delete sessions that I've exported or started? I'm assuming you mean from the cloud agent. I don't think there is today. You can filter based on where they were, and you can search, which is helpful. But it would be interesting to like maybe archive. Like I don't think you'd want to delete it, but like maybe archive it so it's not, like you said, in your face and distracting you. I think that's a great idea. I'm gonna pass that on. Just looking in the chat if there's anything else I haven't answered yet. Yes. So someone asked about is this the CLI. Will today the CLI, spoiler alert, and it's not really a spoiler since it's open source, is a wrapper of the VS Code agent, actually ships 300 megabytes of VS Code with it to kind of like leverage all the things that we built in the VS Code extension. But stay tuned. You never know. You get a bunch of engineers together in sunny Malaga. You never know what might happen. You got to stay tuned because cool things can happen when everybody's together and there's like, as Brian and I are looking forward to, beers on the beach, which I found. Oh no, what was that Spanish word? I found a Spanish word that is for beach bar specifically. That I sent to Brian as soon as I found it because we were getting pumped for our trip today. Oh no, I mean working, all the working. Yeah. That's what I meant. Trahabo. Yeah. Okay. Other questions. Oh, there's a question about our relationship with OpenRouter. So I want to talk about that. Yeah. So it's a little complicated because there's a couple different things that you can mean by Kilo, right? Kilo, the extension, can connect to or CLI or any of the JetBrains extensions, etc., can connect to any API provider that provides AI inference, right? So that could be your own account at Anthropic or OpenAI or your own account at OpenRouter, or maybe your own inference provider that you have on your company side. Like we have a lot of customers that are using their own AWS Bedrock or similar inference. But if you use the Kilo gateway, right, that's like kind of the batteries included out of the box way for Kilo to work because it just connects to our API gateway. That's actually backed by a number of other gateways as well as some direct connections. So we use OpenRouter, we use Vercel API gateway. Those are the two big like gateway providers that provide us the ability to give you like hundreds of models behind them. And then we also do some direct, right? So like when there's a stealth model, for instance, right now, GigaPotato, that's going direct to that provider who, another question was, does Kilo Code know who they are? We do. We're sworn to secrecy, but we have a relationship with them and we're going direct to them with that traffic. And then there's some other stuff. We use Bedrock sometimes to make sure that we can have good stability for Anthropic models. I'm trying to think if there's anywhere else you go. So yeah, in that case, it can route a lot of different ways, right? If you're coming to the Kilo gateway, because our goal with the Kilo gateway is to give fast, quick access to as many models as possible. That the trade-off is then you know that we're sending that data off through another gateway probably. But if you don't like that, you can not use the Kilo gateway and use your own AI inference. And then in that case, we're not getting any of that data. So yeah.
Yeah, I see another question that I think you already answered, but I think it's useful for the demo we just showed, which is why is continuous context-aware threads an important feature? And Brendan, I think you kind of already answered it by leading to your link on context engineering. But I think another and you probably mentioned this in that post, but another thing is that re-explaining context is like becoming a major source of friction with all of these new AI tools. Like they are really fast with the implementation in the development, but when you have all these fragmented context sources and different tools, and you have to get on the same page with each individual agent every time, that actually introduces a ton of drag, and it's a ton of time and tokens spent, trying to do that. So instead of the previous workflow from Slack to Shipped, which was, engineers and people in the Slack thread kind of chatting with each other and working something out, and then one of them goes and tries to summarize all that context and take the changes that they think need to be made from those decisions and explain them to a different AI agent. Now you can just tag Hilo. It'll take in all that context. It'll understand the changes that need to be made without you having to re-explain it, and it will actually make the change. So it's reducing that kind of chain of command that used to exist, and also probably helping you save, maybe money and tokens while you're at it. So
yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. And then I see one, what's the purpose of Kilo Agent Manager in detail? Brendan already answered that one too, but there's a few reasons. Like I said, parallel agents, that's a huge one. You can run multiple agents working on the same project at the same time without conflicting. So that obviously reduces the time to get things shipped. And, I think we all have the experience of sending off a prompt to an agent and then waiting a couple minutes, just staring at it, coding. Now you can do multiple things at once without having to, spend that time waiting. And also with Kilo's Agent Manager, you can do multiple versions in the parallel agent. So if you wanted, since AI coding is non-deterministic, meaning you'll get different results every time, if you wanted the AI agent to have multiple takes on what you're trying to do, you can use the Agent Manager to spin up multiple versions of your prompted request, and then you can just pick which one and merge which one you like the most. So that's another useful thing. Let's see, anything else here?
Yeah, one question I'll maybe address live too is changing the model in autocomplete. So that is something that's coming, but we did not. So the autocomplete history is a storied one. We actually released an autocomplete version originally that you could select the model that you wanted. And the results were really bad, right? Autocomplete is just kind of a different animal than agentic coding, where like right now we're waiting for the Slack agent to come back. Great, fine. You can't, you're talking about, if you're waiting a minute or two, that's maybe not ideal, but it's fine. When you're typing, you can't have milliseconds start to matter. And so we really didn't like that. We kind of re-architected it from the ground up, and we spent a lot of time with a lot of different models and a lot of different providers to try and get the best, fastest that we could autocomplete working. And there's a lot of very tight optimizations there for Coachful, which we went with. Having said that, we want to be open and allow people to use their own model. It's just we wanted to prove that we could deliver an actually good, useful autocomplete experience first, and then allow folks to, make a decision to use a different model. I would just say, warning, we've used a lot of models, and your mileage may vary. Great.
I think a few just popped in actually.
Go for it.
Are there additional costs for using Agent Manager? So, I mean, if you're using multiple agents at once, you're going to incur more usage because you're using double the tokens basically, but that's really it. It's just you're using the same agent that you use in Kilo, but twice as much in the same amount of time. So it's still the same usage-based charging that you get from all the other Kilo interfaces. And then can the agents, I'm guessing the parallel agents, talk to each other so that you can get tries at the problem and then ask for a blend? So I don't know about a blend, because I'm trying to think of a use case where you'd maybe want that, because typically if you did the multiple versions things, it would generate like completely different approaches for each. But yeah, so there's not a way to like, there's not like a blind option where you can pick like multiple responses and then have the agent like pick the best code from each of those and kind of make like an optimized code or optimized response. But that is an interesting request. And I'm curious like to hear from you what kind of use cases you would want that for, just so I can have some more context. All right. So I just want to show real quick the pull request that Slackbot made, and then I think we can call it because we're pushing time. So basically, like we said, Slackbot will read the context. It'll put a PR right there in the thread, and then you can open that right up in GitHub. So I guess share my screen again. This multi-monitor thing is killing me. No monitor thing, I mean.
No monitor, yeah.
All right. All right, so we've got like the beach theme makeover. It added the sunny background. The player transformed into a surfboard. The enemies are now crabs. The platforms are sandy beach platforms. So yeah, we'll go ahead and merge that. And we're kind of running up on time, so maybe in the follow-up when we we'll do a post on the webinars we did this week. Next week we'll talk about everything we discussed, and I'll add links to any of the demos I made, so you all can play the surfer Malaga version of, I don't even know if there's good surfing here actually. I know that it's beachy, but the Malaga version of Kilo Man. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. I really appreciate it. We're going to pick 5 people to win the credits and the t-shirts from all of the webinars. We'll announce those winners very shortly. And stay tuned for the Kilo show next week, which I have a feeling is going to be pretty special since we're all going to be together here in Malaga. So yeah, thanks everybody. And I hope to see you soon. Bye.
See you.